The release timing for Immortals was not ideal, near the end of the year after all the big releases and 1 week before Cyberpunk, so I sadly skipped it in December, but after playing a ton of Valhalla I did miss the Odyssey flavor. The things that game did so well that are sadly absent from Valhalla. I made a video about it, maybe you already saw it, otherwise link to it in the video description. No, but the point of this new video is that I really think that if you liked Odyssey like I did and are looking for a new game, that you should give Immortals a try. And you can actually really give it a try because there's a new demo. I also want to touch on the new updates that launched today and just tell you why Immortals surprised me and was totally something that I needed after Valhalla. So a like on the video would really help me out. And let's go. A new patch just launched for Immortals, which adds the loadout feature similar to what we saw in Odyssey. For Odyssey we saw it 6 months after release, and now Immortals gets it 2 months after launch. Immortals is of course from the team behind Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so I totally think that they saw that people wanted it for Odyssey, so are now prioritizing it for Immortals, and that's why it's releasing so fast. And yes, this would be perfect in Valhalla as well, but it will likely be a very long time before we see it, because Montreal is first working on the visual customization system, and that is what I really love about Immortals. All these features that we wanted during the post-launch of the previous 2 AC games are already here at launch or being added very soon after. And while playing, I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of cool looking armor sets in Immortals. They all have different color variants as well, and they all enhance a different playstyle. And the combat gameplay is pretty similar to Odyssey, with the parry on both shoulder buttons for example, and a light and heavy attack. But the big twist is the mid-air combat. You can jump, do a nice air combo for example, or send the enemies flying thanks to the Ares Rev ability. And there's one armor set which increases damage while in mid-air. So if you find yourself dealing a lot of damage while in the air, then this will come in handy. Some gear pieces increase the damage of the different abilities or after stunning an enemy. Most enemies namely have these blue bars that build up by doing abilities or using the heavy attack. And by focusing on this, you will make sure that the enemy is unable to do anything back. And it lets you deal increased damage, which you can enhance even more with the Stone Glare Mask, which is by the way based off a design in Odyssey, as you see right here. No, but again, you can just show any other helm piece if you want, thanks to the visual customization system, while still benefiting from the increased damage. The point is that the combat is surprisingly deep. There are also these potions that give you either increased armor or damage and health on hit, so it's smart to use them against tougher enemies or bosses. And there are, by the way, a ton of bosses in this game that take some strategy to take out. It's super awesome to explore the world and then stumble upon one of these world bosses that also will give you a nice reward for killing them. So yeah, even with just a sword and an axe, I wish there were more weapons, but like even with those two, the combat is surprisingly deep, and the gear really has an impact on your performance, just like your overall upgrades. There's no leveling system, but you get crystals after beating enemies or when finding chests in the world that you can then use to upgrade your items, and you'll immediately feel the difference after one sword or axe upgrade. It's really well done how you start out weak and then unlock new stuff at a great pace and then have a choice of where to spend your points first. It also makes you really care and look for resources and new gear in the world, because the enemies get incredibly tough later on, and increasing the power of your character is really helpful. Like, this game is way more challenging than Valhalla for example. Even on the normal difficulty there will be a lot of tough encounters, but now with the new update they also immediately unlocked the nightmare difficulty during your first playthrough. First you had to beat the game first. I can only imagine how brutal Nightmare will be, but really this game offers the challenge that Valhalla is sadly missing. Immortals is way more than combat though. Actually a huge part of it is solving puzzles, and I'm not really a big fan of puzzle games, but I actually quite enjoyed the puzzles in Immortals. The early game puzzles aren't that exciting, but it gets more interesting and clever later on, and it's especially cool how they keep throwing new elements at you to keep it fresh. Platforming is also a big part, and the movement and the speed you have feel great, so it's a really nice mix between having to think and testing your reflexes. Still though, and this was for me especially the case during some main story puzzles, it can be sometimes hard to understand what you need to do, but luckily at this point there are guides for every mission, so if you are stuck, just look up a video and you're good to go. But again, overall though, as someone who's not a huge puzzle fan, I totally enjoyed myself with some of the creative ideas that Immortals throws your way. I think the story is its weakest part. Like, the lighter tone is awesome, it has some cool moments, but the voice acting for the main characters is just not as strong and kinda annoying. You can, by the way, switch between male or female at any point, so what you select early on in the game can be changed at any time. But yeah, overall, I did not really care for the story, so I just played this game listening to podcasts, and it was the perfect game for that. I beat it in like 22 hours with doing some small side objectives here and there. But really, to get all the achievements or trophies, you're looking at like 50 hours or so. There's already a New Game Plus you can immediately do after finishing the game. Every week there's a vault to complete, but this tough because you got a time limit this time and some handicaps, but succeeding gives you tokens which you can spend on store items that rotate weekly. So it's basically Reda system, but without stupid items like settlement decoration, naval content and tattoos, but only with gear, weapons, mounts, wings and bird skins. You can preview them in the shop before you buy them, and earning this Electrum currency is way more exciting thanks to that vault, but also more varied daily challenges you can complete in a few days instead of one. The first Season Pass DLC is, by the way, also already out for Immortals, with the second one coming very soon. There are some new extra missions, so yes, you can spend a ton of time in this world if you want, with even more to come. And then I haven't even talked about the amazing world yet. It's stunning. I'm lucky enough to play it on a next-gen console, and it's just insane how beautiful this game is. And also how every region has this completely different style. You got the more colorful regions, so the forest or the super Greek-inspired world from Athena, but also a battleground from Ares, which kind of feels like the Hellfire Zone from World of Warcraft. And overall, I'm really getting WoW vibes while going through these regions, in a good way, because the zones are really well varied. And the demo, by the way, takes place in a completely separate region. It was made for a Stadia promotion, but now it's out on every platform, and it gives you a great taste of the tone, but also lets you feel the gameplay already. You see how it looks. Building your character and exploring the world is, I really think, the highlight of Immortals, and it's kind of hard to get an idea of that in this demo, but it at least is nice that you can try the gameplay for free if you want and see if it's something for you. It totally surprised me. I'm still having a great time. Like, even if you don't think the style is for you, if you liked Odyssey, then you should give it a shot, or like these type of open world games, then you should not skip Immortals, especially now when there are not a lot of other games coming out. The game is on sale here and there too. I think it's at least worth trying. Maybe if you played it, you can also let people know in the comments what you think, or if some people have questions, maybe I or other people can answer them. Totally subscribe for more Immortals videos. A like on the video would of course really help me out. And I also got some beginner tips up on the channel that you can watch by clicking on the screen. For now, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.